Yeah, time is there. It seems like there might be some more people coming, but I think we'll just start. Thanks a lot for coming to listen to me here, talking about my reflections around software obsolescence, DevOps, IT business. We'll touch into quite a few topics and try to say something about how I see that they interface with each other. First, who am I? My name is Andreas Bredesen. I am currently Department Manager of Software Development in the Missile Division of Kongsberg Defence and Aerospace. I will start a new job next week, actually, as Department Manager for Protect Systems, remote weapon stations. This talk will be my reflections around the experiences from my work in regard to the topics, not necessarily the views of Kongsberg Defence and Aerospace. I feel that it should be, but not quite there yet. But I'm going to share them with you anyway. As I said, we'll be touching a lot of different topics here. Software obsolescence is one of the most important part I'm trying to address, but it's connected to both IT. We do model-based systems engineering, creating digital twins. We'll touch into development environments and more. And if you have any questions or things you want to discuss with me after the talk or even later, just approach me and I will be glad to speak with you. Okay, I'm starting out with a couple of statements in regard to DevOps and cloud. The speed of development, software development and hardware development is continuously increasing. Continuous integration and continuous delivery aims to help teams deliver products and functionality with precision and predictability at tremendous speeds. And cloud-based solutions can offer new functionality and bug fixes several times a day. Since I represent the missile division in my work, creating software for physical products like missiles have a different nature. A typical missile program can last for a decade from it starts until we start delivering our products. During that time, a new operating system has emerged, new tools have emerged, changes in the toolchain, new versions. So everything is continuously changing during the development period. Hardware might also have changed. An FPGA might have come out in a new version that requires a new operating system itself to run and new tools. So we need to address these issues in regard to software obsolescence during the development period so that we can deliver a top and up-to-date product when we deliver. We also see that an increasingly amount of the development efforts are being software or software-related development. From the early missiles created purely with electronics to now that we see 60 to 70% of the development is software-related development. Another thing with our products is the lifespan. They might live for 50 years. We still have products out in the market today that has been there for over 50 years, and the customers expect them to work if they want to use them 50 years after delivery. They get through upgrades during that period, but that's the lifespan that we need to address. We have a lot of different influencers both external and internal. External influences are standards that we have to comply with, both European military standards, NATO standards, safety, security. We have legislation, customer requirements, and of course cybercrime. This places some outer boundaries on how we do product development. We also have our internal influencers. Some of them are influenced by the externals, and some are only internal. But it's influences like the IT services, the infrastructure, corporate requirements, ITIL, and the business structure itself. The ability to do development different from projects, divisions. Kongsberg Defense and Aerospace is a part of the Kongsberg Group. It's a big company, and with DevOps in mind, being able to choose tools and doing things differently in regard to project nature and product nature enables the projects themselves to be able to choose methodology and tools. That's also an influencer. And I think that it's going to be harder in the future if we don't do things about this. As an example, we are required to patch tools and operating systems regularly, and it becomes increasingly difficult to support existing products as a result of that. We need to be up to date all the time, and when we need to support the products as a result of the NATO ACAP 2210, for example, we need to be able to reproduce the development environment and the actual product 10 years after it has been delivered. And if the operating system does not run on new hardware, that gets increasingly more difficult. Virtualization can help us out a bit, but with the lifespan of the products, we need to think virtualization of virtualization. So I think we will get into difficulties somewhere down the line, no matter how we address it. Yeah, as we see, the newer desktop computers does not even support older operating system as Windows 7, for example. Windows 7 itself has a lifespan now until 2020, and then it becomes obsolete. So we continuously have to push ourselves to get further ahead. Yeah, we see that suppliers on tools sometimes focus on delivery to cloud first, and we actually see that some of the tools that we use are now delivered cloud only. So we need strategies for tools, both on the side where we do the development and on the product side. We see that the real-time operating systems are lagging behind in support for example, C++, 11, 14, 17. So all these things holds us back in regard to how development for cloud can do their development. So that's one of the main concerns that I want to talk about further today. We also see that license models, as a result of the external influencers, we need to segment our networks. We have a different part of the networks, we have different networks, and our products have to live in an ecosystem that it gets increasingly more complex, both with security and the complexity itself. And when we have to divide everything like this, we need servers with licenses on them, so the cost of the development is also increasing as a result of that. Yeah, and we see that the obsolescence is coming faster and faster now. So strategies needs to be created in order to address this, and we need to analyze how to do the product development in the most efficient way in the future, so that we can actually maintain it. And it might result in changes both in the way that we do development and the organization itself, so we need to be prepared for that. And also, of course, the agreement types puts the external boundaries on us, so we need to actually look at them as well. Okay, now taking it up to even a level above this, I will come down to the software part soon. We see that a challenge is that there seems to be a gap between IT department, development, and management, where I've spoken to several different big companies that have similar issues, where IT department is focused on the infrastructure, servers, networks, delivering management solutions to address the overall business. But when it comes to the development part of it, the product near side, they won't touch it. The development part of the business focuses on the products, to create them, to have the newest technology that we need to create it, and have their own DevOps teams known about the products and are able to support them. And of course, the business focused on how can we sell more products, how can we get more customers, and all these things are important individually, but there is some connection here that I think information technology are able to close the gap. When I say IT here, I don't mean the IT department, but I mean IT as in information technology and digitalization. And I think it's an increasingly essential facilitator for business transformation and growth. And I also believe that IT and digitalization should play a more fundamental role in internal development. Look at how do we do development, how do we do management inside the company, what technologies are out there, what do other companies do, how can we adapt this to work even more efficient and develop more efficient. It should be a part of the business strategy. And my thoughts around how to enable this is to have people inside the company sit down together, form a group, cross the different parts of the organization, business, development, production, IT, to really dive into how things are done, what others are doing, and how can we adapt to this. I think a group of people should be formed, and they should have a concrete mandate to look at this and come up with a plan, a strategy for a platform that can be implemented so that we are able to to actually facilitate for a more efficient way to develop in the future. A maintainable platform, both for business development and for product development. And of course, a strategy should have a vision that is hard to reach, and I think it should be to create the world's most advanced and efficient IT platform to develop products and to perform management. Okay, what should be in this platform? Now we get down to more code-nerd things. We won't go as far as down to code, but I think that to increase competitive power, it's important to standardize, to focus on reuse, and to focus on collaboration. So here is what I've called cross-collaboration. And I think if we can create a common component model or several models that can be reused across project, products, business areas, companies, we will spread the development cost around the companies and the support of these models. And the way this could be done is by chopping it up in blocks, packages containing requirements, design, code, reviews, test results, and traceability down to issues, tasks, everything that is being performed around these components, so that the development can be done as a collaboration between projects and products. We'll come back to how I think it can be done in a later slide. And I believe it has to be done in a similar way. So it can't be up to a project to choose to which methodology they want to use. Everyone has to do it in the same way. So it's going against DevOps in one way, but we are so bound by our boundaries that if we don't do it, I don't think we can increase competitive power, or it will be decreased at least. And then the lifecycle management, if we do an approach like this, we can collaborate around that as well. I'll try to explain more with a video here. Can you get it up? Okay, it was up. Here's an example of a product where we have a no, you can't see it. Yeah. It will come around. What we see here is a missile. It's a product where we have a computer platform. We have interfaces to actuators and sensors. The components consist of requirements, models, interface descriptions, test results, tested in regard to safety standards. What I'm trying to illustrate here is that reuse of technology and a common component model might lead to being able to reuse this actual computer platform, the sensors, the way that we interface everything. When a new operating system arrives, when new hardware arrives, new FPGAs, we will be able to implement support for it in one division, and we can enable that support also in other products. It's already tested in regard to the standard that it has to be in compliance with. And this is just one example of how I think the reuse of a common component model might look like. Okay, let's see if I can get it up here. Yes. What does this require? A common component model, of course. Some information to let both developers, market management know what the different components can do, how they can interface with other components. Strategies, plans for these components in regard to further development based on customer needs, project needs, product and markets. The components can be continuously developed on in the projects that use the components. The responsibility for transferring from projects to mainline needs to be sorted out so that we have somebody responsible for doing that. New business models needs to come in place. Who is going to finance the development? If you have a component that a project wants to use and we want new functionality developed on that component, we need to enable this project that might not need this new functionality, but they are the project working on the component. They have to actually implement it, even though they don't really want to, because for the greater good and for the economy of the company itself, I think it will be beneficial, because if we do this for one project now, another project will do the same in another division, and you will get it back eventually. Price matrices, internal, external for the components, or a license model. The business model needs to be worked on. There must be full control over the third-party licensing part, especially if there are going to be parts of any of the components using GPL licenses, for instance. Full control over that, and at least creating some kind of APIs to communicate with that. If there is code or components connected to this that we really do not want to expose. And a common quality requirements, so that we have similar coding standards, so that we can expect the same quality on the development of the components across the projects. Responsibility and ownership and agreements around usage of these components needs to be in place. Maintenance to make sure that when a new operating system and tools arrive, it gets supported by the component as a collaboration. And support needs to be addressed. Which division owns the component? Are they going to support it? How can it be supported? What SLA? Which time span can the internal customer expect for this component? And it's we've seen some examples of this, that the support part needs to be in place to be able to reuse components. And a a backlog of issues. Of course, as I said, we have different networks and different segments of the networks, and if we reuse the components across these segments, we need to manually or semi-automatically be able to flow backlog items across these boundaries, so that a component used by a project over here finds an issue, and this product over here uses the same component. We need to make sure that they know about the issue, and a third one might actually fix the issue, and everybody that uses the components needs to know about it so that they can have it in their backlog to think about when they are going to implement it in their part of the product. Documentation in a standard form. I'll talk a little bit about how we do development and how we see that being done in the future. We have traditionally a document-based development methodology where we can have tens of thousands of unique documents that needs maintenance. We are now going into a model-based systems engineering approach where we use the models to store the documentation and the knowledge. This is an example of how we do it, where we have requirements. We have different views of the total system. So the system model consists of requirements, functional, logical, and physical views. We reuse this information across several systems. So the system model is the backbone for implementation and connecting. We actually need some documents. So, but instead of having everything in a BOM structure or in a different structure in an archive, we connect it directly to the system model so that we can keep the knowledge. Our products live for 50 years, and since we need to both maintain for 10 years and a project might last for 10 years itself, that's 20 years, and people change jobs, and we need to have the knowledge in the company for all that time, and we need to know the reasons for the decisions they made many years after they might have left the company. So this is our way to address that as well. The projects are big in planning as well. We might have a master plan. We might have sub-projects under that plan. We might have work packages under there and teams. So there's a hierarchy of plans. And when we see that a task slips in a work package that another work package are reliant on, we need to be able to address this on a level further up in the project itself. So we are connecting the planning part of our product development with the physical part of the product itself. And the way that we do it is by issue and task management. So all the tasks being performed, being developed on a product in regard to a project has to be registered in the issue and task management system, so that all work on requirements, all design work, all implementation, cross-discipline has a task that is connected to the product and the project plans. So that this is an example of a methodology that we feel needs to be in the background of this. Okay, why should we do this? I believe if we implement what I've tried to at least try to explain to you here today, we will get a lower price for the customers, because the development is done as a collaboration. So we use a lot less time. We save money on doing it this way, and it's important to do something to increase the competitive power and to, on the development side, do it in a more efficient way, like to do on the web, on the cloud part of the development. Continuous delivery, but in a different way. I think it can give opportunities for new business, because when we reuse the components, one project might get requests from a customer on a functionality that another customer didn't even know that they wanted, but when it's available through the ecosystem, we might be able to sell this to them. The components might be commercialized, so that it can be reused for different things that than they were originally meant for. Maintenance costs will go down, training costs as well. Also, as a collaboration, you do it one place, and the others do not have to do it themselves. And of course, we have a joint and integrated development and collaboration platform, which means that if you want to move from one part of the company to another, you are in a similar environment, so you know exactly how to do it when you start developing. So we increase the learning cost there, both on the product and the tool side. Yeah. So this is the upside, I think. What's the downside? I think it will require a revolution. Yeah.
Where's the sandbox? I mean, where's the sandbox in all that?
Where you test?
No, where you play.
Where you play?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's the innovation part? How does it fit in?
Yeah.
Does it have to fit in?
Yeah, of course. You can play with the components. You can actually move them. Since you can move them around in the different segments of the network, you can have a sandbox part of the network.
I'm thinking about innovation when it comes to like trying out new coding, like new stuff, like playing around, you know?
Hmm.
Innovation, something that happens often on a sidetrack.
Yeah.
Is there room for that?
Yes, but not as a part of this.
No, right. How do you integrate it?
Yeah, good question. I can't answer it. Yeah.
I have a couple of questions. So I'm working in GE Healthcare, big company, we have a lot of products, hundreds of products, and the products that seems to be most successful is the ones where you have units that are close to the customer. And we have had some parts of GE Healthcare where you have had these big platform teams building technology and components. And I'm in favor of components and reuse by components, so I'm advocating that internally. But it seems that some of these platform teams becomes too powerful in a way, and they don't listen to the businesses, don't listen to the product requirements or the product needs. So there is a difficult balance here.
Yeah.
I think. Do you have any comments? to this?
No, as I said, it might require organizational changes to be able to fully implement this. And I think this emerges bottom up, but I think the top in the organization needs to be on board with it. It needs to be in the business strategy. They need to invest in this, both money and it needs to be visible down in the organization that this is something that we want to do. So that's my thought around that.
Another question. Oh no, I forgot it.
Other questions? Yeah.
You make some bold claims about the upside. I think this has been tried a number of times over many decades. So we had, let's just talk about reuse. Component reuse has been the grail of software development for 30 years, maybe longer. It has cost companies huge amounts of money trying to implement, and I have seen no reports that it has been worth the money. I just wonder, do you, almost the picture here I think says it all. It's Brave New World stuff. I agree with the lady who's talking about innovation and getting to play around. It feels to me like you're trying to impose control, and I've never seen that. I'm not saying it won't work. I've never seen it work, but I wonder what is it that encourages you to think that this time it might work?
I think that this time we are forced to do something because of the boundaries. If we don't do something, it will be so rigid that we are locked down and we will start losing competitive power. So this is my thoughts around what can we do. This is an example, it's a suggestion. We see that components might arise and be available online. You have different libraries that you can take down and use in the products. They are developed as a collaboration, open source. That seems to work. So this is a sort of open source taken down to the company. But in order to fit it inside the company, I think we need to fit it inside some company boundaries. Open sourcing it internally is an approach as well. But we need to make sure that we get the proper support, that it's not more attractive to go out on the web to use a component from the web if we have already put a lot of money in a component that we have down here. I don't know if that addresses some of your questions.
I think that I hear what you're saying. You haven't convinced me.
Okay. Yeah.
What you just said here is what makes this really dangerous. Is well, we have spent so much on developing this, so we shouldn't go out on the web and get something. Well, if whatever's out on the web is free and available to you and it's better, then whatever you've made and spent $1 billion on, it doesn't matter anymore. That has no, you can just throw it away. And that's the dangerous thing about this, is that you get into a place where, well, we made this, it's built in-house and therefore we have to use it. And like if you want to innovate, well, I have a new way of doing this. Well, no, you can't do that because we've already have a team doing this and they're making this quasi-perfect component, and therefore whatever things has to be done in that component. And I think, as been said, that's a little bit risky. And I think maybe as like a defense contractor, you have some limitations on what kind of software you can take in, and at least on what you can collaborate on moving out. You can't put your missile steering algorithms. You can't open source them. That's part of your problem, right?
Correct. Yeah.
You can't do like things like Facebook and Google and innovate at their speed. So I think it's really dangerous trying to do what you're suggesting, because you would end up with building a huge bureaucracy trying to defend your own components. Because you need to be prepared to kill your babies.
Yeah.
Which is ironic in a military company.
I think it's a huge bureaucracy already. So
Yeah.
maybe check this out.
I
Make a lot of sense.
But I prefer fewer small companies within the company working on things which are closer to the end user. And if somebody has something we can reuse, that's nice. But being forced to reuse it or going there because they have it is it's going to slow you down. It's not going to speed you up.
I agree with you. And if there were external components that we could reuse, and that we are so confident that we have full control over everything that happens in this component, that we can reuse it in a product, totally agree. And just back to the R&D part of it, I think that that actually needs to be taken out of this perspective, because this is working on a product in a project. So I think the R&D part needs to be completely on its own, being able to play with new technologies, taking in parts of the product if you want to do that, but as a completely autonomous effort where without the boundaries. I think the creativity should flow, and yeah, of course we need to have that, but that's a different part of it.
That's the delivery part of it, kind of the.
This is the delivery part. Yeah. Yeah, I understand your skepticism, and it's good to get this kind of feedback. That's exactly what I need.
Before you roll it out.
Yeah, I don't think we are ready to roll out yet, but yeah. Yeah.
One question.
Yeah.
I assume that you're just taking different tools from outside and then putting it together into this governance.
Yeah, we can't.
Are you developing this yourself?
Which part do you mean?
The whole process.
Yeah, you mean this? Yeah, this is something that we actually are working on and are very close to finish implementation of.
Yeah, so you have bought the tool?
Yeah, we have bought the tool, and we have, yeah.
Because that's the first.
Yeah.
You're not making the tool?
No, of course. And we can't do this on all components. We need to select components that we are able to reuse, and we can't do it on everything. And of course, something is so close to the product that it needs to be completely on the product side. But we have a big chunk of common code that we can reuse. I see that my time is up. So if there is any questions, just come and talk to me afterwards. Thanks.